It can sound sometimes when you listen to non-duality that there's someone to become no one.
I don't have any audio here.
Okay. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah. So, really, the whole message, the whole suggestion is bizarre, is nonsensical, that there is no one to become no one. And when I speak, or when they're speaking of futility or pointlessness or meaninglessness in regards to this and what it seems to be suggesting, that's what's being pointed at. The suggestion is that you are already not you. Not that you could become not you. There is no you, there is no me to become no me. There are no me's, there are no yous. Now that's not, I'm not suggesting that that's something that could happen. I'm not suggesting that's a possibility. I'm saying that's how it is. That's why you may speak, or it's usually self is spoken on about as illusory. No matter how convincing self makes itself, there is no reality to that. I don't have any sense that what we would call everything else other than self is illusory. Everything else is real. Really empty. I was always confused by Tony's real and unreal. Tony always, one of his favorite ways of referring to the paradox was to say that everything is real and unreal. The sense that I have, or that here, is that there is only this, and this is the only reality. And really all we're speaking of is the end of looking for something other than this. The reality, there are other realities, deeper realities. Now, that doesn't mean that anything can't appear as this. And in that sense, everything is real. Just this. Only this. Nothing but. And you could say the bummer is there's no getting this. You can't have it. But isn't that wonderful? That is the liberation. That's the freedom. If there could be some human beings who get this and others who don't, where would the freedom, where would the love, where would the unconditionality, where would the... Yeah, there are no special ones. And self-love is a special one, longing to be special. Such an incredible equality, unspeakably equal. Everything simply being as it is. It's no revelation. It's all that could ever be revealed. And the dilemma, which I'm sure a lot of you are well aware of, is the waiting till I know. Waiting till I know the absence of myself. And it may be very obvious that, of course, you won't be there to notice the absence of yourself. There's no one to notice. This can't be missed. You could say it can be overlooked. Seemingly, self is always overlooking. And the overlooking is generally looking to the future. But even the looking to the future, of course, isn't overlooking this, and that's this, looking to the future. Or stuck in past, you know, with regrets, with guilt or shame or disappointment or pride about what has happened. Seemingly that is overlooking this, but of course it's not. There is no overlooking. This is without exception. So the peace that passes all understanding is that there's no understanding required. All understanding is empty. Well, it's lovely to see so many of you. If you've got a question or you want to share anything, then just write it in the chat or put your hand up or just unmute yourself and ask.
David has his hand up, Tim.
Hi, David. Oh, nice to see you. Just unmute yourself, David.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, not quite sure what I'm going to say, just filling in the silence, you know.
Nice to see you anyway.
And you. I mean, we know this only started 25 years ago, but for real, I'm being facetious. But, you know, and all these meetings and books, and it's just all fantastic stuff. But I'm wondering how far we've come. The answer is, it's a rhetorical question. It's just to make a little point. Since the Buddha looked at a flower and smiled. That's it.
Oh, we've come nowhere.
Yeah. Oh, no, but only started for real 25 years ago.
Did it really?
He was just a kind of pansy guy who liked flowers, you know.
Well,
It's,
aren't we all one of those pansy guys? Yeah.
hopefully. But it's, I just thought about it today. It's probably the greatest piece of performance art ever done, actually. The thing being, of course, that, because whether it happened or not, it's another matter, but that doesn't really matter. But the notion being that only one person got it, as it were.
Yeah, yeah.
Of the 1,000 present or something, you know, all that good stuff. It's, but it's still a lovely parable or whatever. And after that, it's just reading books and going to meetings, eh?
Well, and looking at flowers and smiling.
Or a lump of shit.
Yeah, and smelling the shit and going, oh, that stinks. It's not really all of it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've raised this before, and I mean, you weren't very keen on it, but this notion that apparently that the masters would eat cake and followed by shit in the village square just to make that point. But, you know, I think you should be doing that. Come on, up the ante.
Yeah. Do you think that would help if I ate shit?
I might pull in a few more people, actually. I mean,
pull in the crowds.
Yeah.
I'm anything to build the numbers up, David.
Well,
but you draw the line. You have to draw the line somewhere.
Anyway, but that apparently it's all been done anyway. But I was for some reason today it came to me. You know, my mind was going all over the place. I just had this beautiful image of that. I mean, I mean, get much simpler, really.
No, I mean, there's really no need to eat the shit. Just the smell of it is bad enough.
Well, fair enough, yeah. Whatever gets you through the.
I would call that labouring the point.
Yeah, I know. It's crass. They got it wrong.
Definitely. Anyone who eats shit is getting it wrong.
There we are. I think it was horse shit, actually. So maybe.
Well, that's not so bad.
Anyway, that's all. Just the flower sermon, I believe it's called, isn't it?
Well,
it's called the flower sermon, rather beautifully.
Right.
That supposed occurrence, and just the simple lifting of the flower and the smile at it, and that was your lot.
Well, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on you go. Beat that for the next 45 minutes.
Well, I won't beat that. I won't even try.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit of a conversation stopper. I realise that, but
well, it is. Where do you go from that?
You don't. Anyway, that's me. That's it. My lot.
Thanks, David. It was lovely to see you.
And you. Thanks.
I mean, there's not one of us here who doesn't know that. Lifting a flower and smiling. That's that, yeah. Does anything get more beautiful than that?
Nah, I'm not. I don't buy that, actually. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's because you're an old cynic.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think, you know, without, how do you unpack it?
Oh no, there's no.
And but that's where the relevance of the piece of shit does come in, actually, being semi-serious, where it does come in.
No, I get the I get the analogy. I'm just suggesting there's no need.
No, there's maybe no need, but I think few of us look at a flower and see it as pure being. And you know, I'm sorry, but that's is really what's being pointed at here. There's no question. We look at a flower and we enjoy it, you know.
Yeah.
But the notion of the pure being, well, maybe it's in there somewhere, but for most of us, we're getting it wrong.
I don't see it as getting it wrong.
No, I'm just winding you up.
I know you do. I like you winding me up. Why? It's such a perverse thing in itself.
But yeah, it's a very sort of enigmatic thing, but I think that's what's been pointed to.
Yeah.
The isness of
yeah, and that there aren't any exceptions.
There aren't any exceptions.
No.
But I think most, as we're getting back to the old thing about most so-called individuals don't see the world in that way. Maybe it doesn't matter at all, but they don't really.
No, no, I think you're right.
There's a great Leonard Cohen line that came to mind as well. It's about coming back to you and just how he's fucked up all over the place. Everything he's tried, nothing has worked. And I mean, Leonard Cohen did try everything. We know that. I mean, he was the most desperate seeker around. And thank God he never found it. We wouldn't have had the music. But there's a great line. It says, "I looked for you in everything, but you called me on that too."
Yeah.
Hard luck, pal. That's not the way.
No, he could have.
I mean, that's as desperate as it gets, actually. It's beautiful. I looked for you and everything. He's looking at the flower maybe desperately, you know, it's in there. Well, no, sorry, you're not getting it. You're not getting it, you know. It's brilliant. Fantastic piece of poetry. Anyway, that is me finished.
Thanks, Dave.
Andrew has his hand up.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, very loud, Andrew.
Oh, sorry, I'll move a little bit further away.
It's fine.
So just wondering about emotions and Tim.
Yeah.
I have to use your name, you know, because, you know.
I don't mind you using my name.
So what about ownership of emotions? Emotions just happen. And is there any awareness of taking like invitations into like negative?
You don't need me to tell you about emotions, Andrew.
No?
No. Where do emotions appear from? You can tell a story of how emotions appear, but emotions just appear just the same as everything else, don't they?
Yeah, but you could reject some.
Well, you could try to reject some, yeah.
But when Tim woke up, didn't some emotions stop becoming personal?
Well, you could say it all stopped becoming personal, but yet there's no noticing of any difference between. I mean, this is where it gets really tricky to say that there's a difference between, because emotions are already not personal. That doesn't mean to say that there isn't a taking of them personally, but they're completely impersonal. Everything is impersonal, but that doesn't mean to say that self will claim as much as it possibly can, both good and bad. Self is just a false claiming of ownership. You know, I like to claim them because it makes me feel real.
Exactly, whether they're good or bad, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You know, self actually prefers bad.
Yeah.
Because I feel much more solid then.
But I notice that, let's talk about shame.
Yeah.
If I feel like a no one, then the shame doesn't cling on to me so hard.
No, I wouldn't say that there would be complete freedom from the possibility of shame appearing. But really, shame as a feeling, it's not a feeling. Feelings are more raw than shame. Shame is the story that I could have done differently, and that it's my fault. And the whole illusion of doership is that's where shame lives. Shame actually, I think, self likes shame because it's empowering. Because the whole story of shame is I could have done differently. So it's actually, I mean, it's dreadful. I mean, there is no worse feeling than shame. I remember shame, and shame is a horrible feeling. You know, I don't know, but I would guess that a lot of suicides really are based on that feeling of I've done something terrible, and of course I could have done differently, and the shame that I feel. But I mean, dreadfully, self-like shame. When I say like, I don't mean like as in enjoy. It's dreadful. It's a powerful sense of I'm real.
Yeah, reinforces the self. Yeah.
No, so there is no shame. But of course, self feels a lot of shame. I mean, shame and pride are exactly the same, two sides of the same coin. It's I'm proud because of my achievement, and I'm ashamed of my failure. So, I mean, one of the reasons I could say that this is worth talking about is freedom from that story, because that story just doesn't make any sense. If there's no one doing anything, then there's no one to blame. And of course, no one to blame is beautiful, but the freedom is there's no one here to blame. No self-blame, and self-blame is shame.
So shame's not actually an emotion, it's a story, and then it creates contractions in the body, maybe.
You could say it's a neurotic emotion. It's an emotion just for me. I mean, basic raw emotions are really simplistic. And they pass very quickly.
Yeah.
They just come unbidden, and they pass. If the emotion expressed passes very quickly, but emotion repressed fucking hangs around for decades, seemingly. It does, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's really what therapists' job, the job of most therapists is to bring it to the surface, experience it, and in that there can be a relief for me.
Yeah. But you have to do that with each one, isn't it? So you might.
Well, that task for self is always ongoing, isn't it? And of course, it doesn't deal with the actual root of the problem, which is the one that feels I'm responsible.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. That's brilliant.
No, you're welcome, Andrew. And I know this lack of responsibility can be one of the things that really self hates about this message. If it's heard, most selves don't listen to this enough to hear that it's saying there's no one to be responsible for anything. And of course, it's unthinkable. Well, what do you mean no one's responsible? Who the hell am I going to blame? Because when shit happens, really self's only got two choices. It's my fault or it's your fault. There aren't any other options really for self. It's either I blame myself, or I blame you, or I blame a group, or I blame society, or I blame my parents, or I blame my teachers.
Yeah, I'm going to blame my teacher, actually. Yeah.
Somebody's at fault.
Yeah.
Otherwise everything would be just running smooth, you know, there wouldn't be shit. But as David pointed out earlier, you know, this isn't about never eating shit. Not at all. This isn't about shit not happening. This is everything happens just as it happens. In that sense, this message is so radically different from any other, because it's not suggesting that life will be better in any way, because there isn't even a life to come. Just life, as it already is. Not that life could be better, will be better, might be better. There actually isn't a better or worse. It just is exactly as it is. That's all. It's outrageously obvious, too obvious. It's too simple. And there really is nothing in it for me. I'm amazed anyone listens. But then I did. If it bites you, it's just can't. It's undeniable. Because this is undeniably as it is. And that's not any particular way. It's always. Always.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. On my website, on YouTube, on everything, on all my emails, there's a big disclaimer. If you've ever bothered to read it, you probably haven't. So on every email I send out on the website and all my emails, there's a big disclaimer saying go and see a therapist if you want to feel better. If you want an answer, if you want solutions, if you want, because there's none of that here. There's nothing to be solved. Solutions are only required if there's questions. So without the problem, if this isn't a problem, regardless of whether there's a problem appearing or not, if the problem is not a problem, then there's no solutions required. Now, solutions may appear or not. But this isn't an answer. No. This is the absence of questions. And the reason why it's the absence of questions is this is unquestionably, undeniably, simply, ridiculously simply, as it is. That's it. It's fucking stupidly simple.
I was thinking about this yesterday, Tim, about how it just so ordinarily, it's almost like, that's incredible. We just talk about it all the time.
Some job, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about falling on my feet. I've never had the best job possible.
Yeah.
Some job, I have to say. I have people now ask me, a lot of, you know, I meet a lot of friends from the past because I still live where I grew up. So I'm meeting people who knew me as a child and knew me as a teacher and knew me as a sportsman. And what are you doing now then? Oh, fucking, what a question. What a question. I haven't got the first idea ever what to say. Because so I say shit. I really say shit. Like, yeah, I'm a philosopher. Fucking hell, I'm so not a philosopher. Or yeah, I say, well, yeah, I'm a successful author. I don't know why I had the successful bit, because that's bollocks, but just for show, I guess. Oh, so what do you write about? Oh, autobiographical stuff. It's funny. I mean, you all must have experienced that. If anyone asks you, you know, if you say what you're interested in, you might mention the phrase non-duality, and you just wish you hadn't. You just wish you hadn't have said it. Just lie. It's much easier. Who's written Empty Boats? Oh, David. Nice. Nice. Yeah. Empty boats floating on the ocean.
Yeah, I love that story because it just applies to every kind of life situation. And yet, it also is nice to see that this boat is empty as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no one over there to take revenge on, and there's no one here to take revenge.
Well, it is. I mean, there is quite a lot of relief when you can't get tipped out of the boat anymore. You know.
Right. Huge relief.
Because a lot of, I mean, what's the fear of being in a boat on in the middle of the ocean? You're only afraid that you can fall out. And I mean, there's great liberation, there's great freedom, and
yep.
Just the absence of fear. Because the one who was afraid of falling out of the boat and drowning, there's no one in the boat.
Yep.
That's I like the analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say that most human beings you meet, they're rowing the boat, they're steering the boat.
Yep.
They're trying to hoist the sail in a gale. They're on the wheel, and then they look over the side. Oh shit, the rudder's broken. Oh, yeah. Fucking hell, now the boat's got a hole in it. And then if you watch Life of Pi, they turn around, there's a fucking tiger in the boat.
Yeah.
Andrew has his hand up, Tim.
Back, but it's my girlfriend Michaela has a question.
Okay, Michaela, yeah.
Here behind the screen. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, Michaela.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. So, I mean, when there is a realization that no one really is here, it's always hard to really use
Michaela,
words. Because,
Michaela,
yeah.
I'm really struggling to hear you. I think you're a bit too close to the microphone.
Okay. Yes, let me get closer. Can you hear me okay now? Is it better?
It's quite distorted.
Oh, okay. I always get this kind of stuff, like even with Tony Parsons, I was never. Is that better now?
That's okay. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. All right. So I was just saying, when there is the realization that there is no one, and I know that language is always tricky to use anyway. I'm trying to express it as best as I can.
Yeah.
Then still, like, there is anyway a body in a physical form, and there is this making the body survive, like giving it food, bringing it to the supermarket, paying the cleaner to not get like, you know, so all those like life things that happen. And so I was wondering if that survival instinct still exists at the level of the body, or if it's just like, whatever. I mean, there is no body, but the body's here, so let's keep it alive anyway, because why not? Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. Was there a question in there?
Yeah, so how does it feel? Like, how is it for you? Or, you know, and is it still enjoyable? Like, anyway, is it still enjoyable? Like, can we just enjoy? Like, I mean, does it matter whether there is no one or there is someone? Like, could we like just sometimes have like glimpses of like nothingness? And it was like, what's even like, you know, why should I even dwell in asking myself who's here, who's not? Like, I'm just gonna eat an apple and be cool with that, or just gonna give my boyfriend a hug, or like, you know, and keep the body alive. Like, for me, still felt like when I had those glimpses that there was still a pleasure and the love towards the body, and it didn't take away, like, but I don't know if for others instead it could be almost like a pointlessness of even keeping the body alive, because who cares anyway? There is no one. I hope it makes sense. I don't know. I'm trying to express it as best as I can.
So are you right? I'm not really not sure what exactly you're asking me. Are you asking me if there's pleasure in the body now?
Yes, and if there is a desire to keep the body alive, and if there is still an enjoyment of life.
Well, yeah. Oh no, there's more enjoyment.
Mm.
Very in the most simple way, not in a blissed out, not in an ecstatic, in a very simple, ordinary pleasure. Drinking coffee,
yeah,
eating cake,
good cake, proper cake,
watching
like
Netflix, hitting a golf ball, smelling a rose, stroking the cat. You know, all the best things in life. They're all the best things in life.
Yes. Yes, it does feel that way when we are in places of that kind, where, you know, like the mind drops a bit and there's just this spaciousness, whatever it's called. But
Yeah.
then the survival instinct, like, is it still there? Is it like the body still like works by itself, right, in a way? Or
the thing is, there's no knowing of that, because the body is all doing that already. So there it may be that Michaela says that she's the one keeping the body safe, and rowing the boat, you know, so there's sharks over there, so Michaela turns the rudder and rows away from the sharks. Well, there would just be rowing away from the sharks naturally, because a body doesn't need a self. Human beings, it's self that needs self, not a human being.
all right, now, yeah, thank you. That's
so in a very real way, you could just say there's just body.
Yeah, that feels better for me, actually. Like, it just really keeps me away from dwelling and trying to even, like, it's just like, if I just stay with the body, I don't know, yeah, it feels more natural, like just doing like what it wants to do, really, literally, and not having to care whether there is a self, there is no self. Am I doing it? Is it doing it? Am I being done by the universe? It's like, I don't know. It's like, and so simplicity for me seems to work much more than asking like lots of questions. But I used to ask lots of questions, like, oh, like, yeah.
But the body naturally keeps itself safe. If if there's a snarling dog, it's not you that goes and hides behind whoever you're with so that they get bitten before you. Human beings have a natural survival instinct. It was never yours, along with everything else. So this survival instinct that you're talking about, just like a pleasure instinct, all we're talking about is that's been claimed by you as yours, and you're doing, and it never is. It never was. It never is. Never will be. There is simply
that happening.
human beings are reactive organisms, yeah, and life is very simple without the story of what could I have done differently. Oh, I wish I hadn't have done that.
Yeah, it is more relaxing to see it that way as well. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah. No, thank you, yeah, appreciate it.
You're
Thanks a
welcome.
lot. Much nicer than Tony Parsons. So,
Oh, I'm immeasurably nicer than him.
I know. That was traumatic. Cheers.
No.
Tim, in the chat, Kathy says, she says, do you find yourself still getting caught in a story of wishing things could be different than they are? Or maybe getting angry that things are so awful? Or do you find yourself just naturally taking everything as it comes?
Well, you see, it all becomes, well, none of those. Because they've all got I in them, haven't they? All of those. The closest would be, what I will say, it's not that the story couldn't appear that, oh, I wish that hadn't have happened. Yeah, of course, that thought can appear, but it is very different without the one who engages with that thought and then is into an elaborate thought stream of how you could, right, how you might have done it differently, and then how you might put it right. I mean, really is, I'm not saying the thoughts couldn't appear, no. Any thought can appear. This isn't about being a really beautifully calm, wonderful, peaceful human being. I am not the fucking Dalai Lama. You know, it's the antithesis of that, really. It's like there is a sense here that wants to mock all of that high, you know, that through your own efforts, you could attain some sort of special status, which you might call enlightenment or awakening. I don't know why, but there is a desire here to want to annihilate all of that. Really, like burn it all to the ground. Because that's the fuel. That's the fuel for the seeking. That, oh, I'm just an ordinary, flawed, dreadfully ordinary, flawed human being. Now that is the liberation. Not freedom from that, being that. You're not being it, just a human being being. And for whatever reason here, there is a motivation here to want to say that there is no awakening, because that would need one to awaken. There is no enlightenment that needs one to be enlightened. There is just, you could say there's only enlightenment or liberation or awakeness, but then the words, if that is all there is, which it is, then all those become redundant. And the redundancy of all of those fantasies is what I'm speaking about. I mean, this is the annihilation of all of them. Whatever you fantasized that could happen in some fantasy future, they're all empty. This is the only prize. This is the jackpot. This is the ultimate lottery win. You win nothing. You get nothing. I mean, you may still buy a lottery ticket, but But it's not a bad price, this nothing that I'm speaking about. It's everything. I mean, it's the ultimate prize. It's the only prize. And it's utterly free. You don't have to buy a ticket. And there aren't any winners. How wonderful. When you've always dreamt of being a winner. And you've often felt like a loser. There are no winners and losers. It's the ultimate level playing field. Everything is laid flat in terms of hierarchy. There is absolutely no hierarchy. Just wonderfully unique human beings. It's just incredible beyond belief. It is utterly beyond belief. And that's why you might call the whole thing unconditional love. There's no one higher than anyone else. Whoever you think of as the greatest fool and the greatest genius, they're still foolish or genius, exactly the same. There is no, the genius is not higher than the fool. The sadistic bastard is no lower than the saint. Doesn't mean you won't want to lock up the sadistic bastard.
So it's all the same energy.
Sorry, who's that?
Hi, Jim. This is Anita.
Oh, hi, Anita. Oh, lovely to hear from you.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So it's all the same.
it's all the same. It really is. All appearing different. I mean, it's the ultimate in non-duality. The sameness and difference are not two. I mean, you try getting that. Good luck with that. Work that one out.
I can't.
No, that's what I mean. So if sameness and difference are not two, I mean, that's a full stop right there. So everything appears different and all the differences are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea about the energy. I tend not to use the word energy, but yeah, it's Tony's favorite word.
David has his hand up.
Thanks, Anita.
Thank you.
Yeah, me again.
Yes, Dave.
It sounds like I'm promoting Buddhism tonight.
You need to stop that.
I do. But they had a hell of a way, all those millennia ago, of nailing these things linguistically, actually. I'm a sucker for words.
You so are.
It is, and that's my Achilles heel. I'm screwed from the start, actually. But they do cut to the chase brilliantly. And, you know, I won't mention the 25-year thing again. That's my last thing, but that last reference to it. But I think the notion of the age-old, millennia-old thing of very simply the great equanimity, I think it's bloody brilliant, actually. You might argue with great and all that.
I love a bit of.
But you can see where it's pointing.
Yeah, I love a bit of Wu Sin. I don't know about you.
Who's he? Is he the faith mind man? I get them mixed up.
Oh, I think, yeah, you need to have a read of that. I think you'll be besotted.
It's not verses on the faith mind, is it?
Oh, I can't remember the titles, but I have to say, I do, of all, a bit of Heart Sutra, that's lovely.
Is lovely, delicious.
Bit like
I think, I could be wrong here. You're not going to believe this, but I was reading it just before our session tonight. What an idiot I am. But the verses on the faith mind, I can never remember these names, actually. Huang Po, he's a great guy. Very, very early stuff. But this is deemed to be, it costs £3, I think, online. You can buy this thing. And it's only 10 pages. And it's deemed to be the first writing of Zen, actually, the very, very first surviving one.
Yeah.
The great way is not difficult, simply avoid picking and choosing, all that kind of stuff. And it just goes on, it's absolutely, I mean, it's amazing, you know. And you know, you can drive the kind of non-duality thought police coaching horses through all that. We know that. But I think linguistically it's, and even your talk of the great way is the kind of beginning and end of it, actually. It's so pithy and on the ball. That's in translation, of course. God is what it was like originally. But I'm very taken with these. For me, when I read that stuff, being the kind of hopeless seeker that I am, it's a wee sticking plaster that helps me, put it that way.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for half an hour. It's enough, actually.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, better than bottling it up. Anyway, the great way. The great equanimity, sorry. The great equanimity. It's very, very beautiful. And you know,
that's pretty good. I probably said it better 10 minutes ago, but
well, you were banging on a bit. You know, I thought I would just condense it a wee bit.
You know,
and I don't want to advertise Buddhism too much. But I
stop
have to.
advertising Buddhism.
Sorry.
Stop advertising Buddhism.
Well, as I say, you know, the language of it can be very, very, very beautiful.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's supposed to be from the first. But as Tony wonderfully said, great line as ever from him, the old rogue that he is. Because people will often, as you've been to these meetings, they will bring up these kind of Zen things and all that. You know,
well, if you're in them.
Sorry.
Especially if you're in the meeting.
Exactly. Yeah, it's people just showing off what they know, and I'm you know, there's no show without me. And so you raise that kind of thing, and I remember he said, "It's on." Yeah, he said those Zen guys really had it nailed, and then there's a perfect pause, and he said, "For about a week." This verses from the faith mind, whether it's the same thing, but we're talking about, it's from the first week. And it does make the cut in that respect. You know, beyond that, it all fell apart and only revived 25 years ago. We know that. But this is from that first week. It's absolutely great. Couldn't recommend it enough. Anyway, great equanimity. That's
great equanimity.
The great equanimity.
It is the great equanimity of which I speak.
Yep. And that's, as we've just said, that is, what was it? And shit. I can't remember what the other thing was with the burrito.
The shit again.
I've just remembered the shit. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks.
Sticking my oar in again.
Nice.
In the chat, Tim, Lily, I think she's asking about responsibility. So she says, what is a good reason for human beings to have children in an insecure world? Isn't this irresponsible? Isn't this an irresponsible act, even for a no me?
Well, yeah, I mean, that is a matter of opinion. And of course, there isn't anyone choosing to have children or not. I mean, a lot of children are completely unplanned, often after copious amounts of alcohol and maybe some weed. And who the fuck's in control of that? I don't want to sound terribly irresponsible, but I just know that isn't how quite a lot of babies are made. Yeah, I get what you're saying about responsibility. Yeah, it does seem irresponsible, but very natural. So maybe it's very natural for human beings to behave irresponsibly. I don't have any opinion on it, really. But yeah, you wouldn't be alone in feeling that. Of course, the world is totally insecure, but then there is no insecurity when there's no security. neither makes sense anymore. This isn't, I'm not talking about insecurity, because in the absence of there being any possibility of security, which is always illusory, then the notion of insecurity dies with it. You could say the only security is that there is none. That really doesn't make sense, but there we are.
Security is an inside job. There's no inside though.
There's no one to be.
There's no one there.
I mean, that's very paradoxical, that without the one who was constantly striving to feel secure, which is real, that's one of the main energies of self, if not, it's predominant really in most selves. Most of the effort is to keep myself safe. Without that, both security and insecurity both become obsolete, because if this is all there is neither security nor insecurity. There is just this, and this is neither secure or insecure. There's just no knowing. And you don't have to worry about keeping the human body safe, which is what you've called yourself, the human body that you've called yourself, because the human body will do that just as well, if not quite a lot better than you've ever done. Naturally. Well, I'll do a few plugs as we've just about finished time. I'm in Hampsted a week on Saturday, the 20th of August, Hampsted Philadelphia Association in Hampsted High Street, 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon for an afternoon meeting, if any of you fancy a trip to Hampsted. And then on the 1st of September, I'm flying to Copenhagen for a weekend in Copenhagen, for a weekend of talks, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All the details are on the website. And I'm going back to Asheville in October. That's not on the website yet, but hopefully in the next week, I'll put the details of that. And I'll have another meeting next Thursday. Yeah, so there are, and again, if you'd like to be on the mailing list and you're not, if you'd like to get an invitation to the meeting, and just email me clistim@gmail.com. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Darren.
Bye.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Tim.
Bye.
Tim.
Lovely to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Darren.
You're welcome.
Thank you from
Thanks,
Asheville.
Darren.